Welcome to Contemporary Retirement. Contemporary Retirement is a public interest program focused on the retirement community. Every program has segments on legal, financial, and health issues affecting the retirement community. Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a major grant from the Family Heritage Trust Company.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored by Family Heritage Trust Company. The Family Heritage Trust Company is an independent bank chartered trust company established by local professionals to provide fiduciary services including fee-based investment advice, trust services, retirement planning, and tax planning. The Family Heritage Trust Company is committed to client service in our communities. For more information, call the Family Heritage Trust Company at 301-631-5900.
Contemporary Retirement is sponsored in part by a grant from R. Thomas Murphy & Associates, P.C. R. Thomas Murphy & Associates is one of Franklin County's leading law firms, emphasizing estate, trust, elder law, and medical assistance planning.
Welcome to the Is It Legal feature on Contemporary Retirement. Is It Legal focuses on the legal issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Tom Murphy from the R. Thomas Murphy Law Firm with offices in Waynesboro, Chambersburg, and McConnellsburg. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Good morning.
Tom, we've been doing a sequence on that most commonly believed premise that if you have a spouse or a family member in a nursing home, there's nothing you can do.
Exactly. And so, that we're just passionate about beating on the topic and making sure people understand there's always something you can do. And they need to tell their friends and family and not be worried about losing everything to a nursing home.
We tell people every day you always have options, and anybody who suggests you doesn't have options is not telling you the truth.
Exactly. Or you'll find if you hear that someone didn't do anything. They just sat on their hands, they listened to the nursing home, listened to the state, and they burned through a bunch of money unnecessarily.
And they'll tell you, well, my friend told me there's nothing they could do. They lost everything. Well, that's because they didn't encounter a qualified elder law attorney. It didn't have to be that way.
Exactly. And we always liken it to cancer. You don't treat cancer, it can kill you. So you need to get treatment. You need to get advice.
So anytime you're being told there's nothing you can do, whether it be by a government agency, a discharge planner, or a nursing home, you need to look and realize that those people are not acting in your best interest. And the one I'm the most frustrated with is discharge planners, because they don't even have a dog in the fight.
Well, exactly. And they should know. I mean, they deal with us every day. And if they're not telling you the full story, it's not fair to the families they're dealing with.
And so oftentimes as we hear there's nothing you can do, and then we have people who, allow the nursing home to do that Medicaid application for them. They don't realize that's the fox in the hen house. They get a lower reimbursement for, Medicaid than they get for private pay. And so the advice that they give them many times is slanted toward making sure they get all your money first, and to somehow think that that's in your interest just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And there's a lot of good people working for nursing homes, don't get me wrong. But in many cases, they're not geared towards how do you protect yourself? How do you do things to preserve the lifestyle of the healthy spouse?
And so as we work with this, whenever you're being told there's nothing you can do, the answer is there's always something you can do, and that always is oftentimes substantially better than what you're being told. And even if you have totally fouled it up and allowed an application to be made and you've been denied, even then oftentimes we can still improve the outcome.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're being denied because a nursing home did something, well, you need to get the right answers and fix whatever problem before it hurts you.
And I have people say to me, well, if a government agency told me that this is where I am, this is the penalty or that I have to have, I should just accept that. Well, I oftentimes challenge them when we do our seminars is to say, well, if the local taxing authority sent you a new tax assessment saying your house is worth $5 million and now send us a check for $100,000 for taxes for an average middle class family, well, obviously that statement is not true. Would you just roll over?
Well, exactly. And it's no different than a $100,000 a year nursing home. So you need to get answers.
And so the answer is you would get help. You would get an appraisal, you might get a lawyer, you might fight that thing. And people just somehow assume that if they've dealt with the agency and they've given them an answer, they should just roll over and accept it.
Exactly. And then oftentimes that agency is not looking at it in the big broader picture as to what the rules say as to protections for that family.
And unfortunately, we're seeing in Maryland, where there's been a great turnover of the people working there, that oftentimes they're just in the learning curve, and that the person that you're dealing with at the agency has significantly less experience in Medicaid than the lawyers and the paralegals in our office.
Absolutely. I mean, there's huge turnover. They're poorly trained in some cases, and they're inexperienced, and so that combination can lead to a bad outcome for the family.
I had one of the local directors of the Department of Social Services say to me, "Michael, do you have any idea what the training budget we have for these people is?" I said, "No." He says, "It's zero. You train our people."
Exactly.
And so it's not surprising that, and Maryland in particular has almost an incomprehensible regulatory environment that makes it very difficult for people to learn this material.
Exactly. The rules are hidden, and it's just not clear, and it's unfair to people, but there's answers out there.
And interesting enough, yeah, you can find it on the internet, but they do it the same way that they do it in the Maryland. They issue sequential rules. And so you can actually see a rule that would seemingly say you can't do that, but it was overwritten by another rule, but they don't delete the other one, so you could actually walk into a trap on something in plain black and white, but it isn't the law.
Exactly. Same thing in Pennsylvania. They haven't changed the rules, but on the books for years, but the rules have changed internally.
And so we encourage people, to see a qualified elder law attorney. The easiest way to find one is how?
Well, the big organization is the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, or NAELA, and it's the clearinghouse for excellent attorneys across the country.
Tom, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
You're welcome.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Few things in life are as important as family. Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
Every life that meets its end leaves a heart for love to mend. Sister, brother, family, friends are left to carry on. When the loss seems more than you can bear, it's nice to know that we'll be there at Douglas A. Fiery Funeral Home. We care.
Call Ed Lowe to help put your mind at ease.
Welcome to a special guest feature on Contemporary Retirement. This segment focuses on various issues which are of importance to the retirement community. With me today is a very special guest, Governor Larry Hogan, State of Maryland. Welcome to the show, Governor Hogan.
Thank you very much.
By the way, this is the first time I saw something been shot in our set. We're in your office. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here in Annapolis. I mean, I get up to Western Maryland quite a bit, but this is a nice place to do a show.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's fun. And so in any event, we wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that many people in Western Maryland had felt abandoned by Annapolis and the governor's office in the past. And you're made a great effort to include Western Maryland and the other out of rural areas as well.
Well, thank you so much. It was a main part of my campaign for governor, actually, because everyone in Western Maryland felt that they were completely forgotten, neglected, and ignored. And I promised that we were going to spend more time there, and that we were going to pay more attention and provide more assistance, and we have. And everybody in Western Maryland thought they were alone, but quite frankly, people on the Eastern Shore kind of felt the same way, and some of the people in Southern Maryland felt the same way. It was sort of a war on rural Maryland, where they were all completely ignored, and the whole focus was just on the Baltimore-Washington corridor. And we've just tried to make sure that all 24 jurisdictions of the state got the same attention. And that there wasn't a disconnect between Annapolis and our more rural areas.
And I commend you, because there's this discussion all the time about trying to work with members of the opposite side, the other parties, and yet it's just lip service. But I know you have made a strong effort to be inclusive in working with everybody in the state.
Well, really, it's the only way to accomplish anything in Maryland. Our legislature is more than 2/3. Both houses are not just Democrats, but pretty liberal Democrats. And as a Republican, I have to get their support in order to get anything done. And I've just tried not to be partisan. I've tried my best to reach across the aisle to try to come up with common sense, bipartisan solutions to the problems. And to find that middle ground where we can all stand together. And some people say, well, that you have to constantly be fighting. I'll stand up and fight for something that I believe in, but I also think you have to, you can disagree without being disagreeable. And I've tried my best to work in that kind of a fashion. I think we've been able to get more done that way. And quite frankly, I think it's what most people in America want these days. They would rather just see politicians, regardless of what party they are, just trying to focus on fixing the problems and working together.
Well, I know in the western part of the state, we felt like we were being ignored on roads and bridges and so forth, and I know you've been paying attention to that.
Well, you were being ignored on roads and bridges and schools and everything else, and we've invested a lot of time and money in infrastructure in Western Maryland with 81, a number of road projects in all the counties of Western Maryland. I just got back from, I was in Allegheny County for the opening of a new high school. It was the oldest school we had in the state that had never been done. We invested money to help make that happen. We're investing in the redevelopment of major redevelopment projects in Hagerstown and Cumberland and Frederick. And I think that Western Maryland's an incredible part of our state that had been neglected and ignored and underfunded. And now they're getting their fair share of attention and money. And I think it's going to be a real shot in the arm for Western Maryland.
And I know you're very focused on if there are going to be the form of tax, indirect tax, for instance, on gambling revenue and so forth, to make sure it gets used for appropriate purposes.
Well, look, we have, whether you're for it or against it, the reality is we have gambling in Maryland now, and there's a lot of revenue coming into the state. And I want to make sure that those revenues go into the schools and into the classrooms like they were supposed to. If you remember back during that campaign, they were saying it's slots for tots, and all this money was going to help the schools, and it never really did. So we're putting a lockbox on the ballot to make sure that that's a revenue stream of $4.4 billion that we're going to make sure goes into the schools, into the classrooms, so we can pay teachers better and get better schools and make sure our kids are getting the education they deserve.
And I know that one of your endeavors throughout your administration is to hold bureaucracy accountable. Are we actually getting what we're paying for?
Well, that's not only are we investing record amounts of money in our school system, $25 billion. No governor's ever spent more, but I don't just want to throw money out there and let people waste it. So we're making sure that money's being spent the way it should be. And in some cases it has not been, which is, the state has the control over giving this money out, but no control over what happens to it after it gets there. So we're pushing for more accountability with our local school system so we can root out mismanagement and corruption and wrongdoing and incompetence and to make sure that the taxpayers are getting their money's worth, because they're putting a big investment and they deserve it. The kids deserve it and the taxpayers deserve it.
Well, I can personally attest as we wrap up here, I hadn't seen the previous administration in Western Maryland ever, and we've seen you a bunch.
I'm not sure they were ever there. I know that we've brought the entire government up to Western Maryland multiple times. I've been there, I can't even countless times, but I've been to all 24 jurisdictions, every single place in the state multiple times. Love Western Maryland, and we've been there many times, and we'll be there many times again in the very near future.
Thank you, Governor. Thanks for all your help. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Tranquility at Fredericktown Assisted Living and Memory Care provides a warm, home-like atmosphere that promotes daily life enrichment. At Tranquility, our medical director is a geriatric physician. Our professionals support and understand the various stages associated with Alzheimer's and dementia. We have on-site physical, occupational, and speech therapists, as well as around-the-clock licensed nurses. For more information, give Tranquility at Fredericktown a call today, because everyone deserves great care. Let us do the caregiving so you and your loved one can embrace life again.
Dad, there's the big one. There's the big one. Just wait. There's the monster. Just one more bid on hurleyauctions.com. I got it!
If you haven't visited hurleyauctions.com, you don't know what you're missing. Whether you're buying or selling, antique cars, tractors, boats, or real estate, you can do it all at hurleyauctions.com.
Get to know Dr. Carrie Hesley at Diagnostic Imaging Services.
What I find most rewarding is caring for women through our Women's Imaging Center. We have a caring staff that will ease patients through an ultrasound, bone densitometry, breast biopsy, or mammogram. Our health team is sensitive to emotions involved in women's imaging and understands that every woman is at risk for breast cancer. Providing the community with a center that is so dedicated to breast health and the imaging needs of women is something special.
DIS Women's Imaging Center, providing women with progressive care.
Welcome to Contemporary Health Scene. Contemporary Health Scene focuses on the health issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is Linda Ryan, Executive Director, Mission of Mercy. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
Linda's been a personal passion of mine to try to address some significant shortcomings in the health system, and you have a very formalized way of addressing that. Tell us a little bit about what Mission of Mercy does.
Mission of Mercy is a mobile, right now, medical clinic, and we travel, we park our vehicle, this mobile van, which consists of 3 doctor's offices and a pharmacy, and we park it at Mount St. Mary's University, and we travel a 1-hour circumference to treat the uninsured and the underinsured.
And so that just kind of does an arc around from Gettysburg toward Harrisburg, Carroll County, Baltimore County, Frederick County, trying to address one of the biggest problems that we have is underinsured and working poor.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about this vehicle that you have. I think we'll have Director Greg pull up a couple right here and let us see what we're talking about. So when you talk about a mobile medical unit, that truck carries a lot of stuff.
It does, and if you see here, we have pop-outs on both sides of the vehicle, and that gives us larger areas for our the offices for the doctors and also for the pharmacy.
And now this is your mobile dental unit. It's actually the same one that the Army uses.
Absolutely. This is what the Army drops in their medical field units, and it takes quite a bit of time, an hour in the morning and an hour at night to set up and break down.
So when you're traveling around and you're providing this service, you typically set up in churches, so you can actually go into a facility that gives you an open space and you can see patients there after an hour setup.
That's what we do, and we also really appreciate the churches because our patients have a warm and a cool place to be, depending on the weather. Inside the church, we also register them and we triage them. And once that is completed, they go on to the vehicle to see one of the doctors.
Any insurance requirement to appear?
We do not pre-qualify our patients. If you have insurance or other means to obtain health coverage, we promote that for you. But we do not, our whole mission is to really restore dignity and heal through love. So we do not charge our patients for medical, dental, and prescriptions. We give away free medications as well.
And so obviously that's driven by a lot of volunteer professionals.
It is. We have 220 volunteer professionals. These are doctors, nurses, dentists, and some non-medical individuals who will do registration. They're also interpreters, and it's just amazing what they do to make this happen.
All right, so when did Mission of Mercy begin?
Mission of Mercy began 25 years ago in Arizona by Dr. Jonathan Sullivan, who is a pharmacist, and shortly thereafter she met and married her husband Michael, who is an internist and cardiologist living in the Emmitsburg area. And he moved her here and they launched Mission of Mercy with an old mobile unit.
And so you've seen a lot of patients over the years.
We have seen quite a few patients in these 25 years. Yes, we have seen over 16,000 patients during, now because we see folks with chronic health issues, just as you addressed initially, we see them on a regular basis and we're their medical home. So during that time, they've come to us over 84,000 visits. And just in the past year, and these are medical and dental patients, we've seen over 3,000 patients in the Brunswick and Frederick clinics.
So we showed the medical truck. Now there's going to be a dental truck coming. So tell us, how many dental seats and so forth will it have?
Yes, we are so excited about this. We've been working on raising funds for 2.5 years. This unit will look almost exactly like the mobile medical unit with the pop-outs, and inside there we will have 3 chairs. 2 of those will be operatories and the other is a prep chair. Then we'll have the sterilization area. And that will be here in November.
And so people will be able to do, once again, you'll set up in your working radius area and people can come and get dental work, which is in some senses even a bigger problem than health insurance because of just no coverage.
Exactly, for anyone, really.
And even people who have coverage don't have much.
You're right, you're absolutely right. And these 2 vehicles will really work in tandem, nose to nose, and the churches have to put a special electrical box on their building so to accommodate us.
And so the dental practice will grow substantially then because of having 2 chairs plus a prep area as opposed to the MASH unit that you're using right now.
Exactly. We have now doing extractions and fillings, our dentists using that unit, they can only do maybe 8 to 10 patients a day. Our goal is 2,600 patients in a year when we're fully operational with us.
And if somebody wanted to contribute, how can they contribute?
Yes, they can go online to our website, which is www.amissionofmercy.org, or they may call 301-682-5683.
Linda, great job you're doing. Thanks for all your support in the community.
Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate you too, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. More from Contemporary Retirement after these messages.
Albright, Crumbacher, Mal & Eitel are a full-service firm that provides elder care services including managing incoming bills, bill payment, depositing checks, balancing bank statements, and preparing, planning, and filing personal tax returns. Put your mind at ease and call us today.
Welcome to the Making Sense feature on Contemporary Retirement. Making Sense focuses on the financial issues affecting the retirement community. With me today is David Twenhafel, Senior Vice President of the Family Heritage Trust Company. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
Dave, you know, in a prior life, you were involved with a money center bank, and many of the money center bank side of the business dealing with consumers, they're not fiduciaries. And at the risk of having our clients roll their eyes and our viewers roll their eyes, what the heck does fiduciary mean?
Well, it's a complicated word for a very simple idea, which is a fiduciary is somebody who always puts their client's best interest first.
And one of the problems that people have, and I think it's a legitimate concern, is I've never felt like my bank put my interest first, and in fact there's an element of truth to that statement because the banks actually have 2 separate departments that operate completely differently.
Well, they do. There's the bank side of the bank, and then there's the investment side of the bank, which often is securities, and they might have a trust department, but a lot of the action is on the security side, and those 2, the securities and the retail, are just completely separate entities.
All right, so the trust side of the bank, and unfortunately many of these financial institutions bury them in a department called wealth management. And the irony is part of the wealth management arm has the duty is to not commit fraud. And then the second element of it, the trust department must act in the client's best interest. And many clients are almost impossible to figure out which department they're dealing with.
That is a problem, and when I did work for a money center bank, I was always careful to, and I'm not sure everyone does this, but I was always careful to say, you think you're sitting in a bank, but at the moment you're not actually sitting in a bank, you're in the investment company.
That's right, and it has securities licenses and so forth, which ironically the bank is not regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission except how they market their stock. They're regulated by the Fed.
That's correct. The bank side is, that's right.
And so within the wealth management arm is a trust side, and a trust side is a fiduciary, must act in the client's best interest. Trust doesn't necessarily describe the contract, but it does describe the relationship.
That's correct. But I guess one problem with a lot of bank trust departments is they don't necessarily want to take accounts that are kind of average size accounts for most Americans.
But we're seeing today that the money center banks view it as more profitable to go through the security side or the insurance side. They can make lots of upfront commissions.
That's right.
Really not acting in the customer's best interest. It's marginal at best. And at the same time, they have a trust department in there. And their trust department in many instances has much less costly investments designed from the client's best interest. And so they've made a decision. They don't want to compete against themselves. So they've raised the limits of the trust department, oftentimes $1 million, $3 million, $5 million. And so you can be sitting in their wealth management with $300,000 account. They're not going to allow you to access the fiduciary side.
It's true, and most clients don't know it, and I saw that firsthand.
And so part of what you do at the trust company, first of all, does the trust company have any securities licenses?
No, we do not.
Do you have any insurance licenses?
No, we do not.
So there's no product sales?
There's no product sales.
So it's going to be the true fiduciary side only?
We give advice, we manage investments on a fee-only basis, and we always put the client's best interest first.
And oftentimes people are quite shocked to find out that as you're looking at transitioning the client into a portfolio that's in their best interest, that some of these products that they've been sold will have some fairly latent charges associated with them, and many times you will actually tell the client, we can't move that today. We have to work our way out of it because that's what's in the client's interest, not what's in the trust company's interest.
Absolutely. If we were putting our interest first, we would have the client liquidate everything, incur taxes, pay penalties, and we're not going to do that.
And so you're actually going to sit and work with them to try to figure out what is in your best interest.
Yes, and sometimes we've had clients go, I really want to get out of this annuity, and we're saying, no, you really can't do that for another year.
Or just take pieces of it, because many of these things will allow some penalty withdrawals, or to take it out on a strategic basis so as to maximize the return to the client. So many times as you talk about some of these investments that are not in their interest, the ship has sailed on whether or not to buy it or not.
Correct, yeah.
We're already trapped in that decision, so we have to work out based upon what's in the client's interest.
I actually have I call this escape from annuity island. You know, you were sold an annuity, it's got a 5-year surrender period, you're on annuity island for 5 years, and we can help people escape from these situations.
Including oftentimes you can take 10% without penalty. There's other things that you can do. And you also have to be careful with some of these things. There might even be some negative tax issues by pulling it too early. The people have been sold something's not in their interest.
And sometimes those 10% tax withdrawals are cumulative, so if you haven't used them before, you've got a 3-year-old annuity, you might be able to take out 30%. You really have to read the annuity contract.
So how could someone talk to you, Dave?
Well, they could give us a call at 301-631-5900.
And no charge to talk to you.
No charge to talk to us.
Dave, as always, thanks for taking time to appear on the program.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
Thank you from Contemporary Retirement.
Remember a more carefree time? Leave your insurance worries to us. Write Gardner. Call or visit our website to learn how we can make insurance simple and more affordable.
These days, it seems like everything's online, and filling out claim forms and receiving and paying bills online isn't always easiest. That's why we at Quality First Insurance encourage you to just give us a call. Let us help.
Hi there, I'm Paul Sweeney with Quality First Insurance, and it's still just this simple. Our offices are open every weekday where you'll be able to call and speak to real, live people.
No detail was missed. I'm so glad that I turned to Quality First Insurance.
I've recommended Quality First Insurance to my friends who've been just as satisfied.
If you're not happy with what you're paying for Medigap, or more importantly, not happy with your service, give us a try. We're locally owned, and we take the time to provide you with the best. We are Quality First Insurance, and our mission is to provide quality products to quality people. Pick up the phone and give us a call today at 800-745-1411.